People of Reddit, what made the popular kid at school the unpopular kid? I went to an all-girls school, and there was an all-boys school about a 5-minute walk away. When I was in my final year, the school vice captain of the boys' school was dating one of the grade leaders of the girls' school. Both being 17 and not very smart, she eventually got pregnant. She dropped out, and pretty much everyone who knew him at our school hated him. Prior to that, he was very well liked. I thought it was a bit ridiculous, honestly. Pretty sure it takes two to tango. He was at a graduation party that I had the misfortune to attend, and his ex, who was also there, was asleep on the couch. He took her upstairs, unconscious, to, quote, get away from all the noise. 5 minutes later, we hear a scream and a loud get off me. She comes running downstairs, frantically pulling up her pants, and runs out. She told us what happened after a few days. The guy heard that she told and tried to break into her house. He's in prison for assault and battery. He gave her a black eye while he was upstairs. He was charged with R and breaking and entering. She's in therapy, and we're housemates now in college, because she goes out with the girl that I'm sharing the house with. One of the kids at our school lived with his grandma, cause both his parents died. This dickhead and a group of his mates started harassing the old lady whenever she came to pick this kid up. Principal was reported this, and they ended up getting expelled altogether. He essayed one of the most liked girls in the school, and after legal action took place and he came back to school, nobody spoke to him. Nobody acknowledged him. He played soccer, and so the school let him stay for some fucking reason. If they wouldn't give him justice, we all decided to ourselves. When she made fun of me in front of everyone for wearing a yellow shirt to school. It was just a plain yellow shirt, and she somehow found a way to mock the color. It was so unnecessary, and made her look like someone who was just rude for no reason. Everyone quickly realized that she thought people were automatically on her side because she was somewhat rich, and she just became a joke after that. Man, I wish the kids in my school had morals like that. Making fun of someone for some random bullshit was relatively common amongst the kids I knew. I got mocked for the size of my nostrils. Just the wackest behavior. I wasn't necessarily the popular kid, but it wasn't a big school, so everyone knew everyone. I think between ninth and 10th grade, he was found alone in his car behind the local arcade beating off. He was called Thumper from that day forward. No idea what happened after graduation, but he has to have some bad memories of those years. I was relatively popular. I was on the basketball team, marching band, mathletes, track, and pretty much made friends with everyone. Until my best friend at the time claimed I pushed her down the stairs and caused her to have surgery on both legs. Thing is, I was at my grandmother's funeral in another state the entire week she claimed it happened. While the teachers kept us apart and understood my side, none of the others really believed me. Except the anime club. They believed me. Go Weebs! A guy at my school got drunk at a party, got naked, and inserted his junk into a Jim Beam bottle, and ran around all crazy-like with it attached, but not having to use his hands. At the time, it was quite a laugh, but it wasn't until a day or so later that people thought about how small the opening was to a Jim Beam bottle, and that was basically the end of him. And thus the legend of Slim Jim was born. There was one kid in my class who was the son of the math teacher. He was crazy popular because he was able to help everyone out with their homework for the class. Turns out he was actually snooping through his dad's notes to get answers. The teacher naturally got super suspicious after a while, so he deliberately made a fake answer sheet. Of course, the kid grabbed it and noted it all down. It was full of wrong answers, so blatant that anyone who even slightly paid attention in class would know they were way off base. The kid handed out the answers anyway, and in an instant made about half the class bomb, and his popularity dropped like a rock, as they all accused him of deliberately making them fail. They moved him to another class, and they never had an incident of cheating ever again. I wasn't the popular kid, but I remember a guy at my school who kept asking to use the bathroom, and the teacher kept refusing. Eventually, he just went up to the trash can, dropped trow, and took a shit. This was middle school, but nevertheless, folks remember it to this day. In elementary school, so popularity was already sort of a nebulous concept, but one boy who got pantsed at recess was found to be wearing diapers. Pretty sure he was incontinent, which has got to be a rough fucking road for a little kid, especially since he didn't seem to have any other noticeable disabilities. This was in the late 90s, maybe 98 or 99. We were in 2nd grade. This kid, we'll call him Timmy, was pretty well liked. He was a nice kid, got along pretty well with everyone. For whatever reason, the boys in my class were comparing underwear on the playground. Like, oh, I've got Scooby-Doo, or I got spaceships, or whatever. Why? Couldn't tell you. Kids are fucking weird. So Timmy was the holdout in the group. Wouldn't tug down his pants to show what prints he had. He got accused of having girly underwear. One thing led to another, culminating in a couple of boys grabbing him and pulling down his pants. And boom. Wasn't what anyone was expecting. Timmy didn't have girly undies. He had a big old pair of diapers. In hindsight, it made a lot of things make sense. He had a carte blanche to leave class to the nurse. He wore baggy pants, and every once in a while the classroom would stank something fierce. He got teased pretty badly that day, and for a while afterwards, though people eventually mellowed out about it once it no longer was really a thing. The story doesn't end there, though. This was one of the earliest moments in my life that I understood what empathy was. One of my biggest childhood nightmares was presented right in front of me. I was a bedwetter from the age of 3 to around 13, and not just occasionally, but like every single night. So for most of that time, I had to wear something similar every night. I was terrified that someone would find out and my life would be over. I was already a little socially outcast because I was an odd kid, which only magnified my fears. To my shame, I made fun of Timmy that day, and several days after. I'd call him names, or tug at his waistband, or whatever. It wasn't until I mentioned it to my mom about him and what happened that I got an earful and a reminder that I had to wear the same thing at night. That stuck with me, and not much later than that, I apologized to him and instead tried to befriend him. I didn't have a lot of friends, and he had lost a lot of his. We were pretty good friends through elementary school. I told him my own secret to make him feel better, and I think it did, though I'm sure he was pretty pissed since I was such a dick about it at first. He was the only friend I felt completely comfortable having sleepovers with, due to our collective shame. He moved away the first year of middle school, which was a bummer, and we didn't really reconnect at all until early high school, where we talked online. He never told me the exact reason he had to wear them, but it really seemed like he just couldn't control his bladder or bowels at all. So maybe he was incontinent due to a nerve injury or something, I'm not quite sure. But that's pretty much the gist of it. It seriously impacted his social life, but things certainly got better as people moved on. There was an Asian girl who was really well liked by everyone, smart, happy to help anyone struggling in class, and was generally a nice person. But her uncle scammed a lot of people in her community, including parents of kids that went to our school. She went from being well liked to being bullied till she dropped out of school. My partner likes to tell the story of how she became the unpopular kid at school. She was about 6 or 7, so primary 2 here in the UK, and a trend kicked off in her class of eating dog biscuits. All the kids were stealing dog biscuits from home and eating them at break time. Unfortunately, she didn't have a dog, and just had to eat normal human biscuits at school. She was ostracized every break time for it. Peer pressure is weird sometimes. A popular kid in my year pissed himself during an exam in our gym hall. Unfortunately for him, the biggest asshole in our year was sitting directly behind him. He immediately stood up and yelled, "This dude just pissed himself!" He proceeded to get teary-eyed and say, "It's my energy drink, it's spilled," over and over before the exam supervisor literally dragged him out of the hall. 2 weeks later, he returned to school the unpopular kid, and kept a low profile for a while until it eventually died down and he climbed the social ranks once more. That is, until an episode of The Inbetweeners aired in which one of the main characters shits himself in the exam hall, and it reminded everyone of what happened, effectively nuking his popularity all over again. He screwed his friend's mom at a party. Let's call the popular kid A, and his friend B. B's mom was arrested, and B faced torment from basically everyone that knew what happened. Kid A continued to brag about his actions. Eventually, people gained sympathy for B, and Kid A lost his popularity real fast. When I was in primary school, the popular kid thought it would be funny to flush the class pet, a hamster called Nibbles, down the toilet. All the kids thought the hamster would have died, and he quickly became known as the kid who killed the hamster. He ended up changing schools for another reason. But the hamster survived. I don't know how the pipes work, but I heard the caretaker eventually found him. But the school still gave Nibbles away after that. We never actually saw Nibbles again. We were told he survived. All we know is that he was given away to a random family. As for the kid, I think he suffered from some sort of bad case of ADHD or something, and he was transferred to a school that specialized in kids with behavioral problems. He has a stable job as a bookmaker, but that's all I know about him now. Not exactly popular, more like king of the assholes, but he had a project in mind: bully the newcomer to get some fresh fame for his butt apostles. The target, a Greek exchange student, nice guy, but quite a meaty boy. 150 kilos, and a wrestler. I watched because there was no way that I was getting in the middle of that, and my regret as of today is the lack of camera smartphones back then. Bully got his jaw broken, lost 5 front teeth, dislocated his shoulder, and got 3 fractured ribs. Legally speaking, the dude that was being bullied only defended himself and also played his defense on his weight, blaming the bully of making him lose his balance, and by doing so fell on him, which isn't entirely false. Bully got back 2 months later, still suffering from his injuries, shunned by his previous peers, and stayed about 2 weeks, then never came back. She got pregnant at 17, and the father could have been one of 2 guys, both of whom were boyfriends of her close friends, and neither of whom wanted anything more to do with her. My school actually had a really good sex education, and we knew about contraception from the age of 11. Plus, this was the UK, where contraception is free and easy to get, so she couldn't blame ignorance or lack of resources. She tried for the Woe Is Me Act, and nobody wanted to be around her anymore. Both the guys also got ostracized because they'd cheat on their girlfriends, both of whom were well liked. It wasn't even that she got pregnant. The reason was that she slept with her close friends' boyfriends, and again, without even using protection. Plus, when she went around looking for sympathy afterwards, rather than just accepting that she'd done something wrong, she tried to claim that it was all her friends' fault for being bad girlfriends, and if they weren't, their boyfriends wouldn't have been interested in her. People found out he was unaliving animals in super messed up ways. Held a dog underwater until it stopped moving, ran over a cat with a lawnmower, used baseball bats and machetes. Dude was doing some serial killer level stuff. Now he's in the army, and oh boy do I feel protected. There's 3 reasons people join the army. Honor, usually a family thing, or they just want to make something of themselves. They need a job and are basically guaranteed one, or they want a license to kill. My father, a now retired vet, told me that when we were talking about some of the men he'd served with over the years. It really put some things into perspective for me. Alright, now we jump into the rapid fire segment of the video for stories too short to make a full entry out of, but too good to leave out. Let's hop in. He threw a watermelon at a black kid's house. He Tindered next to his girlfriend, who everyone liked, and told people he planned to dump her. He teased my best friend for being built like a Mack truck. She picked him up and put him upside down in the garbage can. He lost any coolness he had. The kid had cancer, was super cool while he was doing chemo. Cancer went into remission and he became a total douche. She, went down south on herself with a Kit Kat bar in the dining hall, and then ate it. 8th grade, he was caught getting off to the science teacher in class along with his friends. When he was caught taking upskirt photos of girls in school and sending them to his friends, his popularity went from hero to zero in a split second. He recorded himself shoving carrots, cucumbers, and a bottle of hot sauce up his rear in the back of a van. Then someone found the video and shared it with the whole school. He punched the autistic kid, then proceeded to get jumped by every single guy that saw him in school for the next week until his parents had him switch schools. He accidentally blinded one eye of the nicest kid in the school by throwing a stick at him. Had a set of keys given to him by the school, for whatever reason, then used those keys to break into the school and steal $30,000 of woodworking and metalworking tools. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm ReddList. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care of yourself, and I will see you next time.